गुरु साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः नमामि। जस्ट अ मिनट। ओके। नमामि गौडपादञ्च शङ्करं श्रीसुरेश्वरं स्वामिनं सच्चिदानन्दमिन्द्रं तं ज्ञानरूपिणे। ओम ओम नारायण नारायण। सो विद्यास्वरूपम। So we were discussing Vidya Swarupam, because avidya, vidya, the nature of avidya and the nature of vidya. So I use these Sanskrit words, keep this in mind, because in Kannada you call this vidya, avidya, but I am more used to Sanskrita, so we use vidya and avidya Swarupam, so that others also can understand easily. You keep this in mind when I say vidya and avidya, they are Sanskrit words. So the nature of avidya is understood. Now the nature of vidya swarupam. It is vidya for the two reasons we told. One is vidya. It is why it is called avidya. Adhyasa is called avidya. That means we are taking adhyasa as avidya and proceeding. Vedanta is proceeding to teach Brahman, keeping adhyasa as avidya. It goes about why it is taking adhyasa is avidya and not something else. One is it is anubhava siddha. All other reasons we have already explained. But here one reason is that it is vidya virodha. It is this avidya alone that is subject to elimination by knowledge. It is this avidya alone that is opposite to knowledge and is subject to be corrected by vidya. Other avidyas, other means if you take avidya as a material, as a substance, vidya can't do anything. Because the very nature of vidya is to correct it, not to remove it. Correct means what? To disprove it. Avidya is a thought, a misunderstanding. It corrects the misunderstanding. Correcting the misunderstanding means what? It disproves that understanding as not true to the object. See? If you have a certain understanding about something, it disproves that understanding. It means disproving means it shows that understanding is not true to the fact. Fact is something different from what you have thought about it. What you have understood about it is wrong, is not true to the fact. The fact is something different and your understanding is totally different. So understanding adhyasa as adhyasa is jnanam, isn't it? Understanding a misunderstanding as a misunderstanding means misunderstanding is disproven. See, when you understand, when you are in the understanding, when you are in the misunderstanding, you think it is true understanding alone. It is the nature of any misunderstanding, it is the nature of any adhyasa to take that to be true during that adhyasa. Like in dream. When you were in dream, you took dream to be true alone, dream to be waking alone. You never thought dream is a dream. Okay? You never thought that dream was a dream. Because while experiencing the dream, you thought it was waking alone. That it is a dream is understood only when you wake up from dream. When you wake up from dream, you come to understand, oh, it is a dream. I misunderstood it to be waking. Now I understand it is not waking, it is a dream. A dream means what? It only appeared but never existed. And the appearance doesn't have a reality. It only appeared, did not exist, means what? It only appeared but did not exist means what? What appeared is not true to what exists. Okay? There is something existing and something I perceived. Something exists and I perceive. My perception is not true to the reality. Reality is one way. My perception about it is totally different. This understanding is correction of your misunderstanding. Okay. How Atmajnanam corrects our Ajnanam. How Atmajnanam corrects our misunderstanding. How? It corrects this way. It disproves our understanding that the Jagat, we take Jagat to be an another existence. Jagat, the individuality. That I am an individual, that there is a Jagat, we take Jagat to be existing. And that I exist as an individual. Okay. Shastra says, you have a thought about yourself as an individual. That means you have an understanding that you are an individual and there is a world. He says, both these are not realities. Means what really exists is something different from what you are perceiving. You perceive yourself to be an individual and the world to be a world as really existing and appearing to me. The world appears to you, you think that. People think like that, world appears to me while existing. Here he says, world doesn't exist the way it appears. The reality is, world doesn't exist the way it appears. I don't exist the way I take myself to be. The way I understand myself to be. I understand myself to be an individual having a body, mind, sense organs, subject to birth and death, subject to karma and bhoga. I am a karta, I am a bhokta. I know certain things, I don't know many more things. This is my individual experience. I have sentiments, I have thoughts, and I have all this is me. Shastra says this is only an appearance of real you. Your real you is unlike what you think yourself to be. Okay? This individuality is only your perception of a perception, not your real you. Your real you is something different from what you perceive yourself to be. Okay. Similarly, the world is only a perception, not an existence. It is a perception of something which is existing. An existence is a pure existence, a self-existence. That is Atma. Atma means original nature, one's own nature, a natural self. A natural self is Atma. Now, what is natural? What makes it natural? Because it is self-existing. It is not dependent on a factor. It is not perceived through something, through standpoint. It is self-existing. Therefore, what is self-existing is understood, is wrongly perceived as what we see as individual as well as the world. So this misunderstanding, during this misunderstanding, we take this to be the reality. But we know, but a suspicion arises, this may not be real because, or okay, we may not get, but something we feel unhappy with this because my sense of individuality and the world around me gives me a trouble. That is samsara. It makes me subject to birth and death. It makes me limited in knowledge, limited in experience, subject to pain, pleasure, working, tension, worry, sometimes little happiness, sometimes suffering, fear, hatred, and all kinds of things. Sometimes deeper problems, sometimes a little bit problems are solved, people are worried, struggling, a lot. This is myself. If this is what I am, if this nature is my real nature, then there is no freedom. You cannot hope to become free from samsara. If samsara is your real nature, you cannot get rid of samsara. You may do something forcibly, suspend it for a while. You may go to heaven, you may go to certain other loka. During that loka, if samsara is real, note this, if samsara is really present, you can't remove it totally. You can't root it out totally. You can only do it under some pressure. You can only suspend it. You can only suspend it for a while. And for a while you live in other world, in a happy world. But that happy world gets exhausted. This is what our Shastras say. Any loka that is acquired. Why acquired? Because it is not natural. What is natural, you don't have to do anything, you cannot acquire, you need not acquire. What is natural, what is your real nature, you cannot acquire, you need not acquire, because that's what you are. If it is not my nature, if heaven or any other world, if Swarga or any other loka, higher loka, is something to be acquired, if I have to acquire, means it is not my real nature. Acquiring, how do? You do through your physical action or mental action. Physical action is called karma and mental action is called upasana, meditation. By modifying your mind, modifying your sense organs and body and doing some change in the world, bringing about some change, you acquire. That means you change your earlier form, earlier circumstances, you modify into another circumstance, another conditional state. You are in one condition, you change to another condition. If that is the case, it is only an acquired state. It is not your natural self. Any acquired loka, any acquired world is not going to be permanent. This bhuloka, this samsara is suspended for a while and you are in that higher loka for a long time. But time itself is relative. However long, apisarvam jeevitam alpameva. Nachiketa says, however long is your life, it is going to end one day. Apisarvam jeevitam alpameva. Sarvam jeevitam. However longest life you have, a longest life you have, even if you live for 1,000 years or 10,000 years. What is 10,000 for the infinite time? A time will come. They will announce you, sir, your lifespan has ended. Your Ayush we call them, Ayush in Sanskrit. Ayush, that means your lifespan has come to an end. Tomorrow you have to leave. Oh my God, you think, 10,000 years is over. Oh, why 10,000, sir? There are people who is living for 50,000 years, even they have to leave. Even recently one person who lived here for 50,000, he had to leave. Oh my God, if that is the case, any amount, any length of time will come to an end. Okay, therefore you live in the higher loka, upper loka for a long time. But is that loka your natural state or acquired state? Know it. If it is a natural state, it won't go away. But you also cannot acquire it. Note it. It cannot be acquired. You only have to discover it. You only have to come to understand, oh, this is what I am. I am already that. Okay. Therefore, anything acquired is within the state, within the waking state, within the dream state. Any acquired is Vyavaharika Satta. Discovery is Paramarthika Satta. See the difference between Vyavaharika and Paramarthika. Empirical existence, empirical life and the real life, real Atma. The empirical Atma alone, all changes, all karma, all modifications, all acquisitions possible. Okay, therefore Vidya Virodhi, Adhyasa being a misunderstanding, it can be corrected by knowledge. It is opposite to knowledge. Okay, therefore we take from the Bhashyakara, from the Brahma Sutras, from the Upanishads, Adhyasa alone is avidya and Jnanam alone can correct it, a Jnanam which is opposite to it. Now the next point, then what is the nature of Jnanam? This also we discussed a little, but anyway, when we do any talk generally, you listen first day and again you next day again in the next class, the same thing when you touch again, you get certain clarity. Because first day you hear something, it looks new. So mind doesn't go deeply into it. Some idea you get it, some insight you get it. Same thing you touch again second time, it becomes much clearer. Because this is what Mananam is, the contemplation, the reflection. When you reflect on it, mind goes deeply, penetrates deep to it and understands it. Okay, so Vidya. What is Vidya? Tad vivekena vastu swarupa avadharanam. Okay. See, Vidya is Vastu Swarupa Avadharanam, ascertaining the nature of Vastu. Vastu is reality. In Sanskrit, Vastu is reality or the truth. Avadharanam, ascertaining or determination. Vastu Swarupa Avadharanam. Vastunaha Swarupasya Avadharanam, ascertaining the real nature of the reality, of the truth. Okay. Is called Vidya. Vidya is ascertaining the real nature. How? Tad vivekena. See, Bhashyakara says, Shankaracharya, vivekena vastu swarupam. Not by, why call viveka? Any knowledge is viveka. No. Every knowledge is not through viveka. This is important. This is why this is Vedantic point alone. That's why we have to mention specially Vivekena and not by Vishayikaranena. There are two ways of knowing. What is totally unknown, you come to know it. That is called objectification. What was outside your anubhava, you bring it into your anubhava. This is called objectification. What is outside your consciousness, bring into your consciousness, into the field of your consciousness. It becomes object of your knowledge. Okay. One is knowing a thing by objectifying it. Another is by only discrimination. By viveka you come to discover, not by objectification. Okay. Because what is an object can be objectified. What is not an object, how do you objectify? Therefore, the knowledge of Atma is gained not by objectification, but by discrimination. Why? Why not by objectification? Because it is already in your consciousness. It is the very nature of consciousness. It looks a little blurred. See? It is not totally unknown, it looks a little blur. Therefore, you make it clear, that's all. You only remove the obstruction, not bring it into your anubhava, because it is already in your anubhava. Atma is self-shining, self-existing, but it looks Atma which is self-existing, looks as if dependent on certain circumstances. Okay, my existence depends on circumstances. Don't we feel? I exist because my body is. If body goes away, oh my God, I'll come to an end. That means Atma by its real nature is self-existing. But I think, I means Atma. I think, that means I think my Atma exists depending upon the body, depending upon the mind. That means when the mind is, I exist. When the body is, I exist. If body is not, I cease to exist. That means I misunderstand my existence as dependent upon body and mind. But in fact, my existence is independent of body and mind. Now this is the misunderstanding. This is adhyasa. A self-existing Atman is understood to be dependent upon certain factors. So this thinking that it is dependent upon, it is relative to the body and mind and sense organs, this is unnecessarily you are adding body as a part of the self, part of Atma. Unnecessarily you are adding the Deha as a part of the Atma, adding the Manassu, adding Indriyani as a part of the Atma, taking sense organs, Indriyani, as a part of Atma, taking Manaha as a part of Atma. This is a misunderstanding. Now what we need to do? Mind is not Atma. Mind is not part of Atma. Atma doesn't require mind to exist itself, to exist as consciousness. Atma, to exist as consciousness, it doesn't need body, it doesn't need mind, okay, it doesn't need sense organs. Sense organs and body, etc. are superimpositions alone. They are not essential part of the Atma. So this is called Viveka. Okay, Viveka means what is not Atma, we mix that with the Atma, take that as an Atma, and that way we blur the vision of Atma, we cover up the Atma. This covered up Atma, the wrong Atma, we distinguish it. Understand that this element is Anatma, unnecessarily taken to be Atma. Body, mind and sense organs are wrongly taken to be as essential nature of Atma. This is called imposing Anatma upon the Atma. Okay. So when the thing is already in your Anubhava, but only seem to be mixed up with others, okay, two ways of thing. One is totally outside your experience. What is outside your consciousness, you bring into consciousness. That is objectification. Another is, it is already in your Anubhava, but it got mixed up certain alien thing. What it is not. That what it is not recognizes what it is not. Okay. Understand what Atma is not as not. Understand what is Anatma as Anatma. Then Atma becomes left out. Atma is a self-shining. So the self-shining nature of Atma is mixed up with dependent Atma. Anatma, which is illumined by consciousness, not self-shining. Anatma is not self-shining. Anatma is dependent upon shining of the Atma, Chaitanyam of Atma, and that Anatma which is dependent upon the consciousness of Atma is mixed up with Atma. And take that Atma also has a little nature of Anatma. This is the misunderstanding. We think Atma has a little nature of Anatma. What is it? I know the Atma. Atma is like this, like this. Now you have an image about Atma. You have a thought about Atma. You have a self-image. You have an opinion. You have a thought about Atma. Now this thinking about Atma, entertaining a thought about Atma, is nothing but objectifying the Atma, which Atma is not. The Atma is not an object, but I take it to be as an object of thought. So this is Adhyaropita. This is Adhyaropita Amsha. Vivekena, that's why he told Vivekena Vastu Swarupa Avadharanam, not Vishayikaranena. Viveka is the only thing required because Atma is already there. Already we are, the consciousness is there, but a little element of Anatma is mixing up. That what is non-Atma mixed up, separate it, distinguish it, separate it, that it is not Atma, throw it out. Once you pull it out of Atma, Anatma doesn't exist on its own. Anatma is a misunderstanding, but even that misunderstanding has to exist within the Atma alone. Upon the Atma. When it is imposed upon the Atma, it appears. But when you separate it, recognize Anatma as Anatma, it doesn't have an existence. Okay. Then it disappears. Disappears means it ceases to be as existing. When Anatma is understood as Anatma, it doesn't have an existence. All existence is one Atma alone. So Anatma, the entire waking state, is understood as inseparable from the Atma. Okay? This is the Paramarthika Drishti. In Paramarthika Drishti, so in Vyavahara alone you see this Atma and Atma mixing up. In Paramartha, there is only one Brahman without the mixing of an Atma. So this is what correction is. Therefore, he says, Vivekena Vastu Swarupavadharanam. That's why we call Vedanta, the entire Vedanta is Viveka. The Adhyaropapavada is Viveka. Vedanta, Vichara, Viveka, both are synonyms. Okay. Vichara is Viveka. Therefore, Vedanta is a Viveka. Is a throughout we do only Viveka. And the Jnanam that is born of Viveka is Viveka Jnanam. Bhashyakara says, Swamiji says, and it is Anubhava also anyway. They say, because it is a Viveka Jnanam. See here in the Bhashya he says, Tad Vivekena Vastuswarupa Avadharanam. Vastuswarupa Avadharana by Viveka. Because idam satyam idam mithya ayamatma ayamanatma iti viveka abhavadeva. There is a mixing up. That mixed perception is a wrong perception. That is adhyasa. That is avidya. In avidya there is a mixing up. You don't see the Atma in its pure state. Why? That means you have come out of Atma. That means you have moved away from Atma. It looks you are assuming something more than Atma. But there is nothing more than Atma. That's why we call assumption. See, you can't go away from Atma because there is nothing other than Atma. But if you think I am going from away Atma, I have moved away from Atma, that is an assumed Anatma, is not an existing Anatma. Anatma doesn't exist, it is only assumed. It is imposed. It is imposed. It is assumed. Okay, so we were discussing that. This much we have stated in the previous class. Viveka bhava deva etayoho parasparatmata paraspara dharmatvancha pratiyate iti nischayam vidya vidyam ahuhu purvokta vidya nivartakatvat. This Viveka really removes the mixed state which is called Adhyasa. So Adhyasa is misunderstanding one thing for other. Atma and Atma's mutual misunderstanding is called avidya. So what does the vidya do? That mutual misunderstanding, it separates, it distinguishes, it discriminates. Yathoktam pujya padaireva anyatra. Here Bhashyakara himself stated about this Viveka, this vidya. Elsewhere, where is elsewhere? In Bhagavad Gita 13th chapter 26th shloka. Okay, 13th chapter 26th shloka. There, in his bhashyam on that 26th shloka of 13th chapter of the Gita, Bhashyakara himself says like this. See, Yatha Shastram Kshetra Kshetrajna Lakshana Bheda Parijnana Purvakam. Kshetra Kshetrajna. Kshetrajna is consciousness. Kshetra is what is perceived by the consciousness. See, what is known to the consciousness, what appears to consciousness. Okay, Yatha Shastram Kshetra Kshetrajna Lakshana Bheda Parijnana Purvakam. Through the Bheda Parijnana Purvakam, you have to do the Bheda Parijnana, the clear discriminative understanding of what? Kshetra Kshetrajna. How you do it? As the Shastra says. See, this is, one has to note. We do Atma Vichara not on our own. You can't suggest a person, go and do your Vichara on your own. That Atma Vichara has to be done in the line, on the lines of Shastra's teaching. Because Shastra knows how to distinguish Atma from the Anatma. If you are advised to do on your own, he cannot distinguish between Atma and Anatma, because the person, the samsari, jiva, he takes Anatma as himself and he doesn't see which is Anatma, which is Atma. He already mixes up. He is already in the state of misunderstanding. He cannot extricate himself from that misunderstanding. So somebody, some Shastra, some Guru has to point out. With the help of Guru or Shastra, he comes to recognize it. If it is left to himself, come on, you watch yourself, he watches, he takes Anatma alone is Atma. Body is Atma, sense organs is Atma, mind is Atma. Now a person who is taking body, mind, sense organs, this is sense of I, Aham Buddhi. You ask him, distinguish it. He said, distinguishing how? Mind is myself only. Because he remaining the mind, he does the vichara. He himself remaining the mind, identifying with the mind, he does the vichara. So in that, he continues in that identification with the mind, because with the mind he does the vichara, he continues in the identification. He doesn't know how to get rid of the mind and see Atma is independent of mind. That at every step Guru has to point out, Shastra has to point out. The Shastra has a prakriya of pointing it out. Therefore here Swami Bhashyakara says, Yatha Shastram. Yatha Shastram it should be done. Leaving the Shastram, you can't advise a person, you do vichara on your own. How can you do? A person himself stands as Atma. A person himself free from Anatma, free from Anatma Adhyasa. Who is Guru? We don't know who is Guru. But what he teaches should be like this. Then we understand that teaching is Guru's teaching. Whether a given person is Jnani, Ajnani, nobody knows. Even we too don't know. But if his statement, is his statement helping you to remove the Anatma, disprove the Anatma, and turn your attention where the Atma is self-existent? It points out, that means Anatma has to be brought into the consciousness. Generally, Anatma we are unaware. See, note the point. There is a way of telling, see, each one we can say the same thing differently also, but this is one way. Anatma in vichara, while doing vichara, a common man, before he does vichara, he is not aware of Anatma. Why? Because he remains as Anatma. He identifies with the Anatma. He cannot see his own. It is like we say, a lamp. There is a darkness below the lamp. In those days, we were using kerosene lamp, oil lamps. You take an oil lamp is glowing very beautifully. It emanates a light all around. Looks very pleasant, and night from the oil lamp a light comes. See the very the light of an oil lamp. It looks winking. It winks here. It keeps on winking if there is a fast wind, or if there is a little wind, a little bit winks like this. Looks very beautiful. But one thing we have to note, there is a darkness below the lamp. Okay, because lamp must have the darkness. It can't have that light all around, because below that flame there must be oil, there must be wick, and wick has to be dipped in the oil, and oil has to be need a vessel. So the lamp cannot illumine below the vessel. Okay, below its oil, it can't illumine. Therefore, Anatma, when we are already as a jiva, when we are doing Atma Vichara, body is already part of our consciousness. Sense organs are already part of consciousness. We don't know what is difference between mind and consciousness. Mind is already part of consciousness. Aham Buddhi is already part of consciousness. The sense of I. Therefore, whenever we look at ourselves, we take this mind and consciousness as one. You are unable to see which is mind, is there a consciousness other than mind? Oh, we can't even imagine. Mind alone is consciousness. That means we include mind as a part of consciousness. Now can you objectify the mind? Without the Guru's help, without the Shastra's help, we can't do. Because we stand as a mind. If you stand as a mind, you can't see the mind as object of consciousness. This is where Shastra's help is required. It shows you how mind, thought is within consciousness, thought is not consciousness. See, just now I told you, mind and consciousness are we are unable to distinguish. They are mixed up. That is adhyasa. Mixed up means what? We take mind alone is consciousness. Thought alone is consciousness. Thought is consciousness. Mind is consciousness. Both are same. Mind or thought, both are same. So, mind is consciousness or thought is consciousness, we think. Shastra has to teach you thought is not. In the consciousness, thought is arising. Oh, this is surprising. But how? It is easy to say like that, but in Anubhava we are unable to see. Because I am the thought. I am the mind. I can't see my consciousness is something independent in which thought is appearing. Oh, this I cannot see. Nobody can see. Shastra alone has to help. Guruji also alone has to help. Otherwise we can't see. Because why we can't see? When we think, because we are thinkers. Jiva means thinking. Jiva means one who is in a state of identification with the mind, with the thought. I don't exist without my thought. The consciousness within the thought alone is taken as a consciousness. So I would not know any other consciousness. How can I do vichara myself? Myself means what? It is a thought is doing. When thought is doing means I identify with a thought. I take thought alone as consciousness. How do I know? How do I leave the thought and stand as pure consciousness? This I would not be able to do. Because the I means I already include the mind, already include the thought. A person who has already taken thought as a consciousness, mind as consciousness, to such a person you ask him, do vichara. I say, I am already doing vichara. What else are you doing? I means what? The mind which is already included. The mind is adhyasta. You take yourself to be a thought or mind, and that person is doing vichara, jiva. However number of years he does it on his own, nothing happens. Because he is the mind, and standing as a mind, he is doing vichara. Guru or Shastra helps you where you are standing. Your very standing has to be questioned. Your mind itself has to be understood as anatma. Your thought is anatma. There is self-existing consciousness naturally there. In that thought arises, thought goes, thought appears, thought goes. There is some self-shining consciousness which neither comes nor goes. It is there, it is, it's by its very nature it is. Its existence, its ease means existence. Atma's being, Atma's existence doesn't depend upon thought. See, the consciousness, in other words, existence doesn't depend upon thought. Consciousness doesn't depend upon thought. Thought is only covering up the pure consciousness. We take thought to be consciousness. This is adhyasa. We take thought to be existing. That is adhyasa. Existence is not in the form of thought. Existence is not in the form of I. Existence is not in the form of mind. It is independent of mind. It is independent of thought. It is independent of I thought. I. The notion of I. Existence is independent of notion of I. Or the consciousness, if you take as consciousness, consciousness is independent of I notion. But we take I notion alone is consciousness. This is adhyasa. A person who is already in adhyasa, how can he remove? He can't remove. He can't remove his adhyasa. This is where Shastra has to point out. Okay. That's why see Shankaracharya says, Yatha Shastram. This Kshetra Kshetrajna, Lakshana Bheda Parijnanam, Bheda, though he is using Bheda word, as we discussed in the previous class, Bheda literally means difference. Here, Atma, Anatma, we are not seeing them as different. We are seeing them as Vilakshanam. Vilakshanam and different. Vilakshanam and Bheda are two different. Okay. Vailakshanyam is unlikeness. Different means they exist in two different places, two different timings. Two things exist either two different places or two different timings or having a different quality. Okay. But here when we say Atma, we are seeing Atma independent of, that means unlike the Anatma. Unlike the mind, Atma is not different from the mind, because mind and Atma are not two. This is only one truth. Therefore, we try to see unlike the mind, unlike the Antakarana, unlike Buddhi, unlike intellect, yet you exist. You means that exists. That consciousness is unlike Anatma, but exists independent of Anatma. This is where we have to watch, patiently watch. Shastra helps you. Have a total vision of avastha. If you have a total vision of avastha, avasthas come and go, but there is one thing self-existing. It neither comes nor goes. That means you can only understand avasthas coming and avasthas going. Avastha comes and goes, you can understand. But consciousness comes and goes, nobody has such an experience. All coming and going is of the mind, body and external situations. But consciousness neither comes nor goes. Because even to say this, that it doesn't come and go, is an imposition. Okay, so kshetra, kshetrajna, lakshana, bhedajna, parijnanam. Bheda means understand its vailakshanyam. Unlike Anatma is Atma. Okay. Evam kshetra kshetrajna lakshana bheda parijnana purvakam prag darshita rupat kshetrat. Prag. Here he is telling in the this is the 26th shloka of 13th chapter. He says, from the kshetra, you have to distinguish the Atma from the Anatma. Kshetra means Anatma. From the Anatma, which we have pointed out before. Before means where? In the beginning of the 13th chapter. What is that? Idam kshetram kaunteya, idam shariram kaunteya kshetramityabhidiyate. Mahabhutanyahankaro buddhiravyaktamevacha. Panchachendriya gochara. All this is kshetram. Etat kshetram samasena savikara mudahrutam. I think 5th shloka he says. Etat kshetram, 5th or 6th. This is called kshetra. Kshetra, along with its modification, the entire Anatma is described here. Etat kshetram samasena savikara mudahrutam. Along with vikaras, the kshetra is pointed out to you. You just watch even the deha is a part of your consciousness. Mind is also part of consciousness. People need antakarana shuddhi to be able to see this subtle difference, that mind is part of consciousness, mind is not consciousness. Sense organs are not consciousness. They are visible within consciousness. Consciousness itself is independent. Okay. Independently existing. So this one has to see, therefore, Anatmat, Prag Darshita Rupat, Anatma, which was pointed out before, distinguishing it means understand the Atma to be unlike Anatma, not separate from Anatma, unlike Anatma. Okay. Munjadi Vaishikam Ythokta Lakshanam Kshetrajnam Pravibhajya. It distinguishes the kshetrajna, that is consciousness, that is Atma, from the Anatma. Distinguishes means by seeing the nature as different. How different? Anatma appears and goes. Atma is self-existing. Atma is not dependent. Neither it comes nor goes. It is self-existing, ever consciousness. It's not depending upon any situation or any factor. Okay. So that Atma, self-shining Atma, nasattanna saduchyate, it can be called neither as existing nor non-existing, because these existing, non-existing thoughts pertain to anything within time and space. Therefore, Atma can be called neither existing nor non-existing, because existing, non-existing words presuppose the very presence of Atma. See, the very thoughts, the very thought of existing, non-existing presupposes self-existing Atma. Where is the need? Where is the need to say? Where is the need to objectify through mind? Because the mind itself appears in that self-existing Atma. Okay, therefore nasattanna saduchyate ityanena, this statement nasattanna saduchyate is a mahavakya. Anyadeva tadvidita tato aviditat adi. Regarding mahavakya also I have to say something. There are a lot of misunderstanding in the world about mahavakya. I think if I discuss now it will take some time, so we'll discuss some other time. So mahavakyas are four, people say. People are stuck with mahavakyas, stuck with fourness. I tell you, there is mahavakya in each Upanishad. Even within the same Upanishad there are more than one mahavakya. So don't say there are only four. And that too, there are a lot of confusion. We leave them. Tell some other time. Okay, so nasattanna saduchyate. It is Atma is discovered as independent of Anatma. How? It is always. What is Anatma? Anatma doesn't form the part of Atma. Anatma itself is an adhyastha. It doesn't form the part of Atma. That means from the standpoint of Atma, it doesn't exist. It exists only for the misunderstood standpoint, adhyasa standpoint. So this viveka, that means Anatma is seen as only imposed one. It doesn't exist from the standpoint of Atma. That means to the Atma, there is only Atma. In the consciousness, there is only consciousness. There is nothing other than consciousness. To the existence, it exists independently. It's a very existence is not a quality of Atma. Existence is the very synonymous of Atma. It is its nature of Atma. See that it exists. Existence is not a quality of Atma. Is not a relative state of Atma. It is the very Atma. Okay, so nirasta sarvopadhi vishesham. It is free from all upadhi. Upadhi means what? A condition is called upadhi. Atma is unconditional. Don't put any condition. Condition of time, condition of place, condition of vishaya, that is vastu. So Atma should not be seen through a condition. Condition means mind. Mind always assumes a condition, a situation. Atma is unconditional. That means let the mind not try to see Atma. It is the mind by creating conditioning is covering up the Atma. It is the mind alone is an adhyasa upon the Atma. Okay, Atma itself is independent. Therefore, Anatma is only falsely appearing due to adhyasa. Okay, in adhyasa condition alone it appears. That means in its real nature it is a pure consciousness alone. What you call adhyasa also doesn't exist apart from Atma. Okay, therefore, yathokta lakshanam munjadiva ishikam. So in Darba, you must have seen one special grass that is used in all Vedic rituals. Darba, we put it here in the ring finger. It's called a pavitram. You must have done the shraddhadi karmas. They tell you, you see the priest, the Veda Pandita, he says, pavitram, pavitram. In between, he utters hundreds of times. You wonder what is pavitram? Pavitram means that Darba, he makes with the help of the Darba, a particular grass, special grass, he makes a ring. Okay, you are supposed to wear a ring to this finger, ring finger. So therefore he makes with the help of Darpa a tentative ring, and he makes you to wear it. So you wear it in this ring finger, on your ring finger, and Darba, you can see that. You see in all Shraddha, in Puja and everything, Darba is, a ring is made with Darba and put it on your finger. And they call it pavitram. Pavitram means Darba. A ring made out of Dharma. Darba is called pavitram. You wear that and do all your Vedic rituals. Okay. And that Darba, while collecting, you have to be clever. It is not easy to collect because it cuts your fingers. Darba, you require to be a kusha. Kusha andre Darba. Kushala. Have you ever heard of Kushala? Kushala means efficient. A person, kusham lateti kushalaha, one who is capable of cutting. Darba is some in between. Outside there will be something, you have to separate it and distinguish it. Munjat iva ishikam. Munja is darba. Kusha is darba. Ishika means the inner one. That inner one is the real darba. So that has to be separated. Your fingers will get cut because it is a sharp, something like a razor, something like a blade. So you have to be very careful. So munjadiva ishikam ythokta lakshanam kshetrajnam pravibhajya nirasta sarvopadi vishesham. You see the Atma not through a condition. All conditions you set aside, because all conditions are adhyaropa. But anadhyasta we have to see, not imposed one, self-existing one. Not imposed means unconditional. Condition means a conditional outlook is adhyasa. You have to see the Atma not under given condition. No conditions, all conditions you throw out. No conditions at all. It is ever existing, ever, ever, ever like that. Therefore, Atma's ever existing nature, we generally, our human mind always looks through conditional. Condition of time, condition of place, condition of object, condition of certain angle of looking. So it is stuck with these. So mind has to be released from this. When the mind ceases to be mind, it becomes one with Atma. Okay. Therefore, nirasta sarvopadhi vishesham gneyam brahma. Brahma which is unconditional. Nirasta sarvopadhi vishesha. It cannot be seen in a given condition, given situation. It is unconditional. Okay. Nirasta sarvopadhi vishesham gneyam brahma swarupena yap pashyati. Who sees with in his own swarupa. In his own swarupa means what? He sees it as himself. See, this is a very difficult point, a subtle point. Anything you see, you stand as a person and see others. Now, can you see yourself Brahman? You can see Brahman. You can see Brahman not as a person, not as a pramata. You can see Brahman, but by dropping pramatrutvam, by negating pramatrutvam, you stand as Brahman. You know Brahman by standing as a Brahman, not as knowing Brahman. Okay? You know Brahman not by being a knower of Brahman, because knower known duality, if you bring, Atma cannot be understood. Atma is without subject object duality, self-existing. Therefore, you can know Brahman by being Brahman. Brahmavid Brahmaiva bhavati. By being Brahman means what? By negating Anatma. Anatma means body, mind and sense organs are appearing in the consciousness. They are not the consciousness. Mind is not consciousness. Sense organs are not consciousness. Okay. The thought of I, sense of I is not the Atma, because sense of I comes through mind. Mind also is a adhyasta. Therefore, mind is not the part of consciousness. Consciousness is independent, in which mind appears. In the waking, mind appears. That means what? Waking is mind. Waking is mind. In the deep sleep, mind is not there. Mind disappears. So that means mind is at conditional appearance. It appears within the waking state or dream state, but it doesn't exist as the Atma. Atma is not a conditional. Conditional means Atma belongs to neither waking nor dream nor deep sleep nor any state. Atma is not a state. Stateless. Self-existence. Okay. Stateless. That means you can never say when Atma is, when Atma is not. All the time it is. Everywhere it is. It is everything also. Everything is Vastu. Everywhere is a space. All the time it is time. Anytime you see it is there. That means its experience, its existence doesn't depend upon a condition. Either temporal condition or spatial condition. Wherever you are Brahman alone. Whenever you are only Brahman. That means your Brahmatvam is independent of a given time, given condition, given place, given circumstances. It is unconditional. Therefore, nirasta sarvopadhi vishesham gneyam brahma swarupena yapashyati. He sees the Brahma as Swarupa. He doesn't see Brahma being a subject objectifying the Atma. He doesn't see the Atma as an object objectified by himself as a subject. Not that way. Because Atma is self-existing. And how do you understand? Only by being Sakshi, only by being Chaitanyam. Sakshi means Advitiyam. Okay. Sarupena yapashyati kshetrancha. Then what is kshetram? Kshetram doesn't exist neither before nor now. It is only Maya nirmita. Hasti swapna drishta vastu gandharva nagaradi. Maya is a Indrajala. Maya means the magicians. Indrajala. Nirmita hasti. Indrajala produces something like a elephant. People say, oh my God, elephant came from nowhere and disappear. Yes, he makes you to see, but it doesn't exist. Okay. Maya nirmita hasti swapna drishta vastu gandharva nagaradivade asadeva. Therefore, they really don't exist apart from Atma. Yet they appear to be anatma. Sadiva vabhasate, as if it appears to be existing. Ityevam nischita vijnana. One understands it appears to be existing, otherwise it doesn't have any existence. Gandharva nagaradi vadeva sadeva abhabhasate ityevam nischita vijnanaha. One who gets a clear understanding. That means by negating anatma, your mind rests in atma naturally. Okay. Nischita vijnano yaha tasya yathokta samyak darshana virodat apagachyati mithya jnanam. Then mithya jnanam apagachyati. Then mithya jnanam gets corrected. That means you understand mithya as a mithya, wrong understanding as wrong understanding. Adhyasa is an adhyasa. That means it doesn't exist. Adhyasa exists until you correct it. If you once you correct it, then adhyasa doesn't exist. Okay. Tasya yathokta samyak darshana virodhat apaga. So this nischaya is jnanam. When this jnanam takes place, the mithya jnana, which is an opposite to it, it gets disproven. Iti yatha viveka bhavena itaretara sadhyasa itaretara enappa itaretara adhyasa adhyasam vidyam ahuhu. Oh, just as that mixing up atma as anatma, mutually mistaking, taking one thing for other is avidya, totally doing opposite to it is vidya. That's all. Simple. Aviveka is avidya, then viveka is vidya. Simple. It is opposite to each other. Therefore, tad viparyayena adhisthana aropyayor vivekena tat swarupa nirdharanam vidya mahuhu. So adhyastha is vyavaharika, adhisthana is paramarthika. When you understand these things, paramarthika is ever adhisthana, adhyastha is always adhyastha. It doesn't exist for its real nature. Okay, snake appears only to the standpoint of the snake. It doesn't appear to the rope. So we have two standpoints. One is the standpoint of snake, another is standpoints of rope. When you stand as a rope, you have no snake. You don't see the snake. But when you assume the snake, in that assumed condition alone, you see the snake. Similarly, on the assumed condition of Jagat, assumed condition is adhyasa. In this adhyasta alone, you see as an individual and the Jagat and all that. Okay, this is vivekena vastu swarupa avadharanam. Okay, this much we have stated. Ega now, elaborate discussion. Swamiji does it about this Purvapakshi's misunderstanding and Siddhanti's correct understanding. He discusses it, I think, 4 or 5, how many pages? So, it's a big discussion about Vidya. 1, 2, 3, 4, andre 4.5, andre 8. 4 into 2, 8.5. 8.5 pages discusses about it. We'll see in the next class. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om Tat Sat.